Welcome to the Corporate Caffeine podcast. Today's episode is actually a recording from one of my recent live streams. I do these every Wednesday at 12:30 Central on Facebook and on LinkedIn. I'd love for you to join me there. Just a warning though, these are a little weirder and a lot more personal. So I hope you enjoy, and let's go ahead and dive right in. Hey everybody, Dacia Coffee here with the most recent episode of Corporate Caffeine, which means it's 12:30 on a Wednesday, and I am live on LinkedIn and Facebook, and you can also catch all of the other episodes on Corporate Caffeine on your favorite podcast channel. Thanks so much for joining me. Super excited to chat with you. And this topic has been a while in the making. My brilliant digital marketing manager had given me the heads up, hey, guys are asking about this topic. And so go ahead and record that, if you will. Now, the thing about searching and doing the research is I want to make sure that I'm bringing a great list to you. I don't just want to take other people's word for it. So today's topic, kind of skipping over the most important part, today's topic is the best marketing podcast for small businesses. So I got to drive to Houston recently and do a speaking event for an association, which was really, really fun, about professional communication success. And on my way down there and on my way back, I was listening to podcasts, and I've been doing that over the weekend as well in my personal time to try to organize this information for you guys. So without further ado, I'm just gonna jump right in. And if you guys want any of the links to these, you will be able to find them in our show notes on the recorded version of these. So, okay, so the number one podcast for small business, the marketing podcast for small business that I have on my list is Marketing Made Simple by Dr. JJ Peterson. Now, JJ works in collaboration with Donald Miller, who I'll tell you about in a little bit. So these are the brains behind the Story Brand model. And Story Brand is all about making messaging really, really effective. So I like Story Brand. It's easy to understand. It's relatively easy to implement. And for the most part, it's very effective for a wide range of businesses. And messaging is one of those places where you can go very, very wrong, where you can be doing the right things, but if your message is wrong, you're going to be wasting a lot of money and a lot of opportunity. So number one on my list is Marketing Made Simple with Dr. JJ Peterson. Now that one is actually followed up by Business Made Simple, and this one is actually hosted by Donald Miller. So he uses a framework around an airplane metaphor where each part of the plane is a different aspect of business, like cash flow or revenue or profit or all your product or whatever. And so it's a really great system to be able to follow along. And he does bring on real business owners and troubleshoots that, very similar to Dave Ramsey, as a matter of fact. And so I really like this approach because you can learn through the eyes and the ears of somebody else. And he's definitely repeating solid business fundamentals, which I very, very much appreciate. So you can see I'm kind of going a little outside of the realm of marketing. However, I do believe that marketing has to be taken in context to the overall businesses of the overall business, and a lot of this good advice ends up impacting marketing and helping you to figure out how, when, and what to do. And so that's why I'm including some slightly more broad topics. Okay, number 3 on the list is also a broad business category, but it's a broad business podcast, but it's so good I had to mention it. And this is one I've listened to for years, and it is the Entree Leadership Podcast. And so this is under the Dave Ramsey family of content, and it's been hosted by a number of different people. Even the old content is very, very good, which is why I'm not mentioning the podcast host, because I recommend find the topics that are really exciting to you. And so I definitely think this is an excellent one for small business in order to be really fundamentally sound. I have found their advice to be really, really on point and extremely actionable. So that's why these 3 really top the list. The next one that I have on my list is actually the Sales Hunter podcast by a gentleman named Mark Hunter. Now, as you can tell by the title, this is a specifically sales oriented podcast. However, at the end of the day, why are you looking for marketing podcasts? It's because you're seeking revenue growth, and it's inappropriate to be skipping that portion of the revenue equation and not talk about sales, and especially not talk about how sales and marketing align. So especially if you have a business to business, small business, or if there's a hefty amount of your revenue generation that comes from live selling, Mark Hunter is great. His conversations are interesting. He's part inspiration, definitely practical, and just gives very, very sound and specific advice about great selling skills behind and backed by a heart of leadership and servant leadership, which is really near and dear to my own personal philosophy. So I definitely recommend the Sales Hunter podcast. All right, now here's where it's going to get a little wonky, because now we're going to segue into the part of the list that's not exactly on the list. Guys, I listened to dozens of podcasts. And the interesting thing about the podcast world is it's lots of conversations. And ours is too. So you really have to sift through information in order, if you are looking for training or specific advice, you've got to have the right filter on. So these are honorable mentions, if you will, because there is really, really good information. But there's a but in each one of those. And so I'm going to take you through it. And so maybe you can hear where you're at and what you're thinking in order to decide what's good for you. And by the way, if any of you guys are listening live, please, or later on, please put your favorite marketing podcast for small business in the comment section of this platform. I would love to hear back from you. I would love to update the show notes and look into that and, maybe find something for my own personal edification. So, okay, the next one I've got on the list is The Growth Show. Now, HubSpot, which is an automation platform, a marketing automation platform, they have a network of different podcasts. And so the first two on the list, Marketing Made Simple and Business Made Simple, are under the HubSpot umbrella. And this one is also The Growth Show. And the premise is that business has never been easier to start, agree. And it's never been more difficult to succeed. Agree. And so I like that narrative. They cover a wide range of topics in a really great voice. And so I very much enjoy this approach. It's watered down, forgive that word, in regards to the breadth of information and the breadth of ideas that they chase. However, it's definitely worthy, and it's great for just following your curiosity. Another one that I'm including is the 10-Minute Entrepreneur. Now, obviously, as the title says, it's 10 minutes, which is really, really great. You get some snackable content, and snackable content typically means highly actionable. So I very, very much appreciate Sean Castrina's approach to the 10-Minute Entrepreneur, because it's very, very down to earth and, of course, oriented towards small business. Another one, and this is distinctly marketing podcast, is Marketing School. Now, here's where podcast land gets crazy when you're trying to find some things, because you get a lot of really clever, broad titles, but then you find out they're actually very narrow topics. And so Marketing School is a great example of, it's a digital marketing podcast. Now, this is highly snackable, as in like one bite and go. So Neil Patel and Eric Sue do basically 3 to 4 minute podcasts. I mean, they are fast. So for people on the go or that do not have windshield time, this is an excellent one. I told you most of these have a but. And so the but on Marketing School is you need to have some elementary understanding of digital marketing in order to really get a lot out of this. Digital marketing is complicated. There is a lot to it. And so you need to have been able to bring a fundamental understanding of digital marketing in order so that when you hear their advice, you go, oh, that goes here or that goes here. And I know how to plug it into my overarching strategy or the tactics that I'm already employing or how to optimize what I'm already doing. So their advice is very good and they're very aggressive. Neil Patel is one of the OGs of digital marketing. And so it's highly trustworthy. But they are definitely, in my opinion, catering to people that have already been down the digital marketing pathway for a while. Okay, so that brings me to a very different type of podcast, and it is a marketing podcast called Heart and Hustle by Evie Roop and Lindsay Roman. Now, this is a business and lifestyle podcast, so they have a really, really distinct voice. You will either love their voice and enjoy the heck out of these two best friends, or they will drive you crazy. So just being honest, I mean, it's decidedly feminine, and because it is a lifestyle podcast in addition to business, they really weave back and forth. Now, depending on where you're at, this can be really, really enjoyable. I do like the fact that they tell a lot of stories. They're very honest. They're constantly talking about where they're at and what they're thinking. And they get really specific, which I like, but their conversations can meander back and forth. Not calling that out as a bad thing, just kind of giving you information to find out if this is really your style. So Heart and Hustle. Okay, for any of you that believe that your audience is on Instagram, Jasmine Star is hands down one of my favorite Instagram influencers and trainers around social media. So she originally started as a photographer and then took her knowledge and allowed Instagram in order to help her grow her photography business. And now Instagram is her entire business. However, Jasmine gives really practical advice about content creation and how to be follow worthy and how to stay on top of what's the latest thing. I mean, even one of her topics was about Reels versus TikTok. And I just thought that's really, really specific, great deep dive insight if you are going to go all in on Instagram. And that's the thing about a lot of these marketing podcasts. And so really make sure that you're reading the description, because what I found about most marketing podcasts is they are incredibly niche. Now, the great thing about niche podcasts is that you're going to get really specific information and you're going to do a really deep dive around things, but it's only a sliver of your marketing plan. Usually there's a whole ecosystem that and strategy that you're building. And then these are individual platforms and individual tactics. So there's a lot around digital marketing, a lot around influencer marketing, a lot around subscription models and marketing funnels like Russell Branson, and just a wide range of narrowly focused content. So it's excellent content. However, especially for small business owners, they're typically asking questions like, what should I be doing? And how do I make good decisions? And how do I not waste money? And these people are full-blown believers in their specific specialty. And so I always recommend, especially to small business people who do not have a marketing background, to just tread really lightly. And you need a framework for how to understand whether Instagram or marketing funnels or certain types of digital marketing are really right for your business. And so, just be thoughtful when you go into those and don't take it as gospel, because it may or may not be right for you. If your buyers do not go on that platform or use those or get triggered by those type of tactics, it's not for you, no matter how amazing it sounds. Okay, another podcast that I definitely enjoyed, and this was more on the enjoy side, you guys, not so much on the learning side, was My First Million. I love that they are super focused on what it takes in order to cross that 7-figure boundary. And I like that all the stories and all of the attitude and all of the hustle is really, really related to that specific massive first milestone. Not first, but first 7-figure milestone. So really appreciate that. They're a lot of fun. They do kind of wander around. So sometimes they're really practical. Sometimes they're just kind of fun, but it was incredibly enjoyable, and probably one that if you like their voice and their style is sticky, one that you would want to stay with. Okay, one other one for anybody who is interested in trying to be an influencer and really and or diving into influencer marketing. Jenna Kutcher is one of the OGs on Instagram and influencer marketing. She's a mommy blogger and a lifestyle person. Now, she does say that her podcast is a wide range of marketing, and I kind of disagree with that. She's fun. She's spunky. If you don't follow her on Instagram, she's definitely worthy. But again, there's a lot of really great women out there doing influencer specific marketing, and she is definitely one of them. Okay. Couple more left to round this out. Now, y'all know that I am a deep end of the pool kind of girl. So these next two podcasts that I'm going to speak to are primarily for marketers. I'll be 100% honest. So probably best if you have a marketing background, or if marketing, the way of thinking about things, you have a tendency to have a natural marketing bend and just an intense curiosity. And these are definitely deep into the pool podcasts. And so the CMO podcast is a great one. So shocker, he interviews CMOs, and it's really about how brands come to life and their values and their meaning come to life. So it's interesting because you're hearing about world famous enterprise brands, and you're hearing what the current CMOs are doing, what they're seeing, what they're thinking. And so these are really brilliant minds. I struggle with this one for small business because they are almost all on the enterprise level. And so just some serious rare air. And so small businesses don't have those kind of budgets. The reason I still included it on here is because the kind of thinking and the kind of conversations that the host and these CMOs are having can be incredibly positively influential. So, even though all of these CMOs have really big budgets, the creativity that shines through can be found and applied to your small business, especially if you have a marketing bend to your thinking. So that's definitely a deep end, probably the deepest end of the pool. And then another one like it is Marketing Smarts by Marketing Profs. Now, Marketing Profs is hands down one of my favorite business to business authorities online. I've been following them and going to their conferences for years and years, and they just have loads of smart people passionate about the business to business world. So not shocking why I love these people, since I am super passionate about the business to business world. But man, talk about deep end. They go into everything from the ethics of social media to really specific digital marketing, lots of philosophy behind marketing and pivots and strategy and messaging. So they are full-blown cannonball into the deep end of the pool, but really enjoyable. Will really get your brain fired up about the thinking behind the marketing tactics. So I really love Marketing Smarts. Okay, and so that I have 4 more, and these 4 are kind of funny. So I did not, in total transparency, listen to these folks' podcasts. However, they are people that I've been following for a long time, and it would be a super inappropriate list to not mention them. And I'll tell you why I didn't listen to their podcast, but why I'm including them anyway, since I can't give you practical insight around this. So the first one is the godfather of modern marketing, Seth Godin. If you've never listened to Seth, do it now. Get on YouTube, subscribe to his email blog, do whatever you can. He is just a breath of fresh air and continues to be so in the marketing world. He thinks both weirdly and practically, and it's a lot of fun. The one thing about his practicality is that most often Seth Godin brings a paradigm shift to the table, which, while incredibly important for long-term sustainable brilliance inside of marketing and inside of entrepreneurship, it's not always immediately actionable, because he's really encouraging people to go on the self-awareness journey. Now, if you guys have even listened to me or heard me one time, you know I do not believe you can be successful in the business world if you do not, at some point in time, do the work on the self-awareness side. At some point in time, the leaders that scream in offices or throw temper tantrums or shut down or hire inappropriately or fire inappropriately or whatever, where they're crazy, all of a sudden gets magnified by business, which it does. Take it firsthand. I have loads of stories where my crazy all of a sudden was on display for everyone, and all of my baggage just showed up in my workplace, right? So that's why I really do recommend Seth Godin. He has a couple of different podcasts, or appears on a couple of different podcasts. His main one is called Startup School. I've listened to a little bit a while back, and like I said, incredibly enjoyable. I do think self-awareness is a non-negotiable. And so if we're thinking marketing and how it applies to marketing and your point of view in regards to communication in the business world, Seth is a go-to. Okay, the next one, Gary V, the Gary V experience. So you either love Gary Vaynerchuk or you hate him, or you love him and hate him depending on what he says. He's wildly entertaining. He's incredibly bold. He loves the F word, all of those things. And he does have some really great things to say. He lets his emotions lead, and he will admit to you that he is not a reader. He just learns based on what he's doing and puts it out there. And there is good and bad to that. So without unpacking every bit of feedback that I've got on Gary V, he is typically worth a listen. But just put your filter on, in your critical thinking, so that when you're listening to Gary V, you take what you like and you leave the rest, because he is on a massive momentum train and has been for a long time, since he was so early to the YouTube game and so early to social media that he takes a lot of his success for granted about being in the right place at the right time. And so he does encourage being an early adopter. But for small businesses, you don't always have time to be an early adopter just for the sake of being an early adopter. So yeah, just watch out for that momentum train, that it doesn't run you over, because it can. Okay, who else do I have on this one? Oh, somebody else that I really love is, I have followed Copy Blogger for a number of years. The founder of Copy Blogger has spun off different businesses, real estate, because he has real estate background. He's a wildly, wickedly amazing copywriter and has built a team of incredible writers as well. And so they give some fantastic advice. So I did not listen to the podcast, because I have been listening and reading so much of their stuff for years. And I've seen him on stage, and my hunch is, if it's even this much good compared to everything else that they've done, it's excellent. Copy Blogger, obviously strong focus on copywriting. I personally think that's also a non-negotiable when it comes to marketing and effective marketing, successful marketing, and successful business. But Copy Blogger is that one. And I think I just told you that I had 4, and I lied. I had written down Seth Godin twice. And so that was my final 3. So Dwight, it's amazing to see you on here. You guys, if you listen to any amazing marketing podcasts, especially ones that are helpful to small business owners and small business leaders, please post them. Let's share. Let's make sure that we are all in growth mode together and figuring this out together, because the world is full of abundance as long as you decide to choose it. So thank you so much for listening. Now, of course, I would be remiss if I did not say that I do believe Corporate Caffeine is excellent for small business owners and is an excellent marketing podcast. That is ours. Yes, this is highly self-promotional. However, the one thing that we are always committed to is about giving you insights in regards to what real people, the unsung heroes, actually did, and the failures that they had, and the specific things they figured out in order to be successful. So I encourage you to listen to Corporate Caffeine. It's available on any of your favorite podcast platforms. And we have started a series inside of it all about small business. So we have top 10 lists, and we have very actionable, immediate things that you can do to make sure that your marketing is successful, and that is accelerating your reach, your influence, and your revenue. So definitely, please subscribe. Would love to hear your feedback on that. And in addition, for any of you guys that feel like, listen, podcasts are great, but I can't just hang out listening to podcasts and praying that the advice that they give is the thing that I need today, we are launching a small business cohort where in 8 weeks, it's almost like marketing boot camp. One of our CMOs, Daisy McCarty, who if you subscribe to our podcast, you've met her numerous times. She will lead this cohort for 8 weeks. And by the end of 8 weeks, you will have amazing messaging that transfers interest into inquiry. You will have nailed your marketing plan. You will have gotten CMO level support around budgeting, around how to make it work, how to create consistency, and how to tweak all of this marketing insights specifically to your audience and your offering. It is awesome. So it's a small group of people. It's a limited number. I think our first cohort is almost full. There's room, I think, for 2 or 3 more businesses. We do encourage you to bring a second if somebody else in your business is in marketing and you want to learn together and be on the same page. So I will post that in the show notes as well. Definitely check out our small business launch, because you can't afford to waste money and time and opportunity when you're a small business. Take it from me, I've come dangerously close, and this is the stuff that I wish I would have known the first couple of years. And you guys, I'm a marketer, right? So I already had a little bit of a leg up in this one. And when you get too close, the forest for the trees, it can be a dangerous environment. So we are here to help you navigate through that. It's going to be a lot of fun. So reach out to me to learn more, or just click on the link and you'll get all the pricing and all of the information on that page. So lots of exciting things going on there, and I just cannot wait to share those small businesses with you. Now, I have, for any of you still hanging out with me, I actually have a request in regards to your preference. I would love to hear, do you like conversational podcasts better, or do you like training and structured podcasts better? So we're trying to find that right balance for us, and more importantly for you, on our Corporate Caffeine podcast. So I would love to hear from you. So watch on my social media. I'll be posting a survey asking you what's your favorite approach. And as always, thank you so much for your attention. Thank you for your encouragement. Thank you for your questions, so I don't have to keep figuring out what to talk about week after week. And most importantly, also, thank you for subscribing. Much prosperity, meaning connection to you. Have an amazing end to March and beginning of April. And I'll see you on the flip side. Onward and upward.